Howdy! Hi, folks. I'm Uncle Bill, one half of the wonderful horror talk radio show Deadpit.com. And this week on Diary of the Deadpit, I'm going to do something a little bit different since I just got the chance to see the new X-Files movie, X-Files I Want to Believe. And I thought it was alright. It didn't have a lot of the characters or the feel of the original series. I was kind of disappointed that not a lot of people showed up from the series, so I figured what better thing to do than to create my own list of the top 10 greatest X-Files episodes ever. So, as you may or may not know, I'm a huge X-Files mark. I have been since the show came out. I've been watching it for years and years. I've got all the box sets, which we'll talk about. And I really wanted to create something where people that didn't like the show or didn't know anything about the show, you could go and watch these to get a real feel for what the show was about. And so I tried to purposely pick ones that kind of displayed the humor of the show and other ones that displayed how serious it could be and kind of disturbing that it could be. And we'll see how it goes over. If you want like a starter kit, first up you gotta definitely get the box sets. This is just one of them. I've got all the box sets. There's 9 of these, and you can get them for about $20 a piece now, from what I understand. And they're really neat laid out. They don't have a lot of special features on them. That's one thing that sucks, but they got all the episodes, and they're really, really well mastered, so that's the good part. Also, if you really get interested in it, you can get... They made a ton of these books back in the 90s when it was really popular. These are like episode guides, and this one's from Britain. It's called Extreme Possibilities. I'm sure it came out in Britain first and then came out in the United States. It has like each episode, and it gives you trivia about each episode, who stars in it, the date that it aired, just different stuff like that. Great little piece of comprehensive work for anybody that's a huge fan of the show. If you really want to get nerdy and geekish, then you can get the little brief novelizations of each one of the episodes, like the ones that I've got. I've got seasons 1 and 2 on here. I don't know how long they put these out. I've just got those 2 seasons, but you know, the show would come out and they would do like a little, you know, brief synopsis write-up of each show in book form, and they were really collectible, and I like them a lot. I don't know what level of dorkdom you have to enter into to start collecting like all the TV guides that had anything to do with the X-Files on them, but I've got those too. This is the one where the series was getting ready to end, and it had Doggett and Reyes on the front of it, Annabeth Gish and Robert Patrick. I've also got the action figures that came out around the time the movie did. That's the McFarlane Toys ones. So, I don't know. I was a pretty big mark. So anyway, let's get on with the list. I'll bring it up, and we'll talk about some of these episodes. Number 10 on my list, I did try to put them in order, even though I could watch all these a million times and have, is Beyond the Sea, which is basically from season 1. This is the only one I've got from season 1. This is, to me, when it really started to get interesting, when the show really started to kind of come into its own. It was the story of Scully's father. It was a 2-part story. One part of it was Brad Dourif is a psychic, or he has these psychic visions, and you know, Mulder's trying to get him to lead him to a series of murder victims. And then on the other end, you had Scully's father, who was a captain, I believe, in the Navy, and there's like a psychic connection between her and him, and he dies in the episode, and then the Brad Dourif's character claims that he can talk with him and all this stuff. If Gillian Anderson will help him out, then he'll talk through as her father, and he knows all this stuff about her. And it's just a really creepy episode, and it uses the song Beyond the Sea, which I think was a Bobby Darin song, and it uses that in it really, really well, and Brad Dourif's great in it. It's like it primarily features Gillian Anderson, which are the ones that I like the most, because who the hell doesn't like to look at Gillian Anderson? But Humbug from season 2 is number 9 on my list. Originally aired in '95. This was the one about the carnival show, where it's kind of like Basket Case, the movie Basket Case, where Mulder and Scully go down to investigate a carnival, and there's a series of killings for these sideshow people, and they think it's the Fiji mermaid that's this big legend among carnival people, and it actually turns out that it's this, well, not to give it away, but it's not who you think it is, but it is, and it's weird. And like I said, if you know Basket Case, then you kind of get an idea where this one's going. It had a lot of good humor in it too, and it had a lot of real circus performers. The guy Enigma is in it. He's like a real tattooed circus freak, I guess. And always liked that one for the dark humor, and it had a really cool like surfabilly, rockabilly soundtrack to it. Number 8 would be Clyde Bruckman's Final Repose, which was the one from season 3 with Stu Charno, who was in Friday the 13th Part 2 as the evil psychic guy, and Clyde Bruckman was played by Peter Boyle from Young Frankenstein, who was the good psychic guy. So there's a guy going around, and he's murdering all these people, and Mulder and Scully run into this guy who's supposedly psychic, Peter Boyle, and they share like a common link because the killer is psychic, but the guy trying to find him is also psychic. So they both know what's going to happen to them at the end of the episode, but it's just a cat and mouse game to try to figure out which one's going to find which one first, and if they're going to be able to save the other one and stuff. Great episode. I think Peter Boyle won an Emmy for that episode, and he really deserved it too because it was a great role for him. Number 7, season 6, Dreamland 1 and 2. To me, this was the best use of any kind of Area 51 thing that was ever in the series. This is the one with the dude from, I cannot remember his name, Michael McKean, the guy from Spinal Tap, trades places with Mulder in the episode because they run into like a time rift in Area 51 where they're testing out this new weapon that if you stand two people side by side and this wave passes through them, they switch bodies, and so the whole episode is basically David Duchovny gets to act like somebody else completely, and so Michael McKean gets to act like David Duchovny, and the hilarity ensues, I guess. It is really good to watch them kind of break out of the mold, because there's only so much you can do with those characters, and it kind of got boring after a while, so it was nice to see them try to play off and let the actors play off other roles and stuff. Number 6, Pusher from season 3. I always love the concept behind this one because it was basically a guy who through his sheer will he could push people into doing things that they didn't want to do. So and there was something about his voice, certain qualities in his voice caused some kind of neurotransmitters to go off, and you were completely suggestible to whatever he wanted to do. And the guy that played him, Robert Wisden, was fucking great in it. And like there's a scene where they're on the telephone with the cops, and he's like telling the one cop, you know, you shouldn't eat all that salty and fried food because, you know, I can hear your arteries hardening. And he actually has like a heart attack. The cop has a heart attack over the phone. So it was really an interesting concept that they played it out really, really well. And then there's the whole cerulean blue thing where he could make you see certain colors and stuff. Great episode. Check that one out. Number 5, Jose Chung's From Outer Space from season 3. This is the one where Charles Nelson Riley was Jose Chung, who was an author who was writing this book, and he got Scully to help him with some of the stories in it because he was trying to write a book. I believe it was about, you know, aliens and stuff like that. But basically what this is just a send-up. This whole episode is a send-up of the whole phenomena of UFO watching and what the series is all about. It's like it takes all that and kind of mocks it and makes fun of it because it's about a war between one group of aliens and another, and you know how everybody from these different sides see things. They've all got different stories, and it plays all these stories out in kind of like a comedic way, and harkens back to Twin Peaks a lot too, which the series always did, but probably one of the funnier X-Files episodes. Number 4 is Bad Blood, which in my opinion is the funniest one and probably the best written one of any of the episodes. I can watch this one over and over again. It's a story about a kid who the kid that was the catcher in the Sandlot thinks he's a vampire, and this whole town is full of vampires. Luke Wilson is the sheriff of this town, and it's told from 2 different perspectives. It's told from Mulder's perspective and then Scully's perspective. Like the first 30 minutes is one, the other 30 minutes is the other one. So you get to see how they both think about what each other does. Like one of them sees, Scully sees Mulder as completely like a Yahoo type of character that always goes after aliens, and Mulder sees Scully as like a really stringent, forceful woman, and it's cool to see the different sides, the way that it was directed. Really good episode. Number 3 is probably the most infamous episode, in that it was pulled directly off the air after the first time it ever aired. It didn't air again for a long time. I think it does now because it's considered pretty tame. If you've ever seen the movie Wrong Turn, I am convinced that this is where the inspiration for that movie came from. You can say it was The Hills Have Eyes or other shit like that. This is almost exactly like the movie Wrong Turn. It's called Home, from season 4. I don't know how shit like this could ever get on network television. That's how brutal that it was. It's the story of a family that's like a holdout from the Civil War. They live in this small Pennsylvania town. I think it's Pennsylvania. And they keep it in the family, to say the least. Like a lot of people say we do here in Kentucky. So they raise this family, and the mother is this fucking thing that's so genetically deformed that she has no arms, no legs, and she's on like a rollaway cot that they push underneath the bed, and then they just drag her out when she needs food or when they want to mate with her to have other little, deformed creature-like things. And so they finally, one of their kids or their offspring dies, and somebody digs it up. So now they have to go on this killing spree to kind of preserve, because they don't want anybody coming to the house questioning them about what happened or anything. So they have to go away into the town and kill the sheriff and all that stuff. It's one of the most violent episodes of anything I've ever seen on television. Makes CSI look tame. Number 2, Postmodern Prometheus, from season 5. It's like a David Lynch episode of The X-Files, in that it's exactly like The Elephant Man, but a lot funnier and a lot more kind-hearted, a lot gentler, a lot better. I like The Elephant Man, but to me this was like a lot. It's shot completely in black and white. I think maybe it's shot in black and white and color. Yeah, I think there's some color in it for the flashbacks, anyway, it's shot differently. And it's about a kid who goes on this trip. He collects comic books, and mysteriously all these women in this town, including his mother, are getting pregnant from mysterious circumstances, and they call in Mulder and Scully because the babies are kind of deformed. And come to find out, it's this Elephant Man looking thing that is basically drugging these women and having sex with them and stuff. And he's got a huge fascination with Cher because he's seen the movie Mask like a dozen times, because that reminds him of his situation. And then the end of it's friggin' priceless. I mean, I don't want to give anything away, but the end of it, the only thing that could have made it better is if they got Cher. But my number 1 all-time favorite X-Files episode, by far, seen it a million times. I think it's probably the best episode of television that I've ever watched, in that it could have been a film, and it was better than any film that I've ever seen, where they try to make a guy into like a psychotic, really creepy maniac type of character. It's Irresistible, from season 2. Nick Chinland, who was in a ton of stuff, including Air Force One, not Air Force One, but was that one with Nicolas Cage, that crappy thing? I don't think it was Air Force One, but anyway, the one with Steve Buscemi and all the rest of them. Nick Chinland was in this one too. Plays Donnie Pfaster, who collects dead things like toenails, fingernails, hair, and he's also a serial killer. And towards the middle of the episode, he's just the creepiest son of a bitch ever, and he does such a perfect job of it. He's really soft-spoken, but not timid, but just really kind of borderline. You can tell there's something going on there, but he's really, really quiet about it. And he's always he goes into women's bathrooms and gets the hair out of the wastebasket and stuff and sniffs it. Anyway, at the end, towards the middle of the episode, he kidnaps Scully, and there's this weird subplot where he morphs into everything evil that people see. Like, they see him as like Charles Manson and the devil and all that stuff, and he just morphs into all these different things. And it's just the best role for a television series, the best episode, the best execution. The ending of it, where he calls Scully, girly girl all the time, just the way that he does that it's just classic. And I wish the film would have captured a lot of these episodes. I don't think it did, but it was a noble effort. So here's some of the episodes. If you want to go out and watch what made the series as unique as it is, what makes me still watch the episodes when I'm, from time to time, makes me still, I've got the toys and everything else. It's the X-Files. It's the best episodes I can come up with. Hope you enjoyed this. Check us out at deadpit.com. We got a killer interview with the guy from Code Red coming up next week, and more written interviews for me. Hopefully, if people would ever send them back. But I'm Uncle Bill. Y'all take care. Peace. Word out.